Just recently, I-DLE has rebranded, removed the G from their name, and released an album where former member Soojin's vocals have been replaced by the others. But what's stirring even more speculation are the unsettling teasers, dark, ambiguous, and full of symbolism that fans can't help but analyze. It's got people asking, is this comeback about moving on or calling Soojin out? In April, Cube Entertainment confirmed that I-DLE would be making a comeback in May, and a teaser poster revealed that new music would be released on May 2nd. Fans were excited for several reasons. This would be their first comeback since renewing their contracts with Cube, and many were curious about what this next chapter would look like. The comeback also came sooner than expected, which only added to the anticipation. Then, on May 1st, the group dropped a dramatic teaser video for their upcoming special and 8th mini-album. Shot in black and white, the teaser featured a dark ritual-like scene where the members appeared to challenge religious symbolism, taking on rebellious and mysterious roles. The visuals were stunning and quickly got attention, even from those who weren't usually fans. But what really got people talking were the hints that seemed to point towards Soojin. The group's new logo, shaped like an asterisk with 5 points instead of 6, caught fans' attention immediately. Then there was the scene with the coffin. At first, the members looked mournful, but after lighting a flame, the coffin began to levitate and seemed to come back to life, leading to a celebration. Right as they pointed to the coffin, Soojin's line from the group's debut song Latata played, followed by the members singing it together before vanishing, leaving the coffin behind. Fans began to wonder if this was the group's way of signaling Soojin's return. Some even speculated that Soyeon, who likely had strong influence during contract renewals, could have pushed for Soojin to come back, especially now that she had been proven innocent. A Twitter user wrote, "I don't think any of this would happen in K-pop, but if any group was to bring back a member, it'd 100% be I-DLE." Others also brought back the 2024 Mama Awards performance in Japan, where Soyeon directly mentioned Sujin and her departure. More specifically, she rapped, "In 2021 you said, 'Do you think you'll make it without Sujin? Contracts and companies, I said I'm going to take care of it.'" Due to that and the teaser, a lot of people thought that Soyeon had been soft launching Sujin's return, and this comeback would be the turning point for the group. Not everyone bought into the theory. Some fans were quick to remind others that it's been almost 4 years since Soojin left, and since then, both sides have moved on. The group has continued releasing music without her, and Soojin has been focusing on her solo career. To them, bringing up the possibility of her return every time the group has a comeback just didn't make sense anymore. They felt that energy would be better spent supporting Soojin's own path instead of clinging to what's already in the past. One user expressed their frustration saying, "Can y'all start respecting her solo career? You're just being annoying doing this." Some people even went as far as accusing the group of using Soojin's name just to stir up hype, without ever actually planning to bring her back. The teaser had sparked a ton of buzz, but with no clear answers, curiosity only grew. Then came a surprising twist. Fans began to notice the group had dropped the G from their name completely. Their social media handles were updated, a new logo was introduced, and even the comeback teaser featured the altered name. It wasn't just a visual tweak, but a full rebrand. According to their agency, the change was intentional. The removal of the G in parentheses was meant to move away from traditional gender labels, signaling a more open and fluid identity for the group. The fresh name and updated symbol were designed to reflect the group's evolving image and limitless potential. The shift caught nearly everyone off guard. It's rare for a group this far into their career, especially one as successful as they are, to make such a major change. Some fans wondered if this rebrand was just for this comeback, and that they'd eventually go back to their original name once the concept wrapped. Others were excited for the change, with one Twitter account posting, "This feels like Tomboy era all over again, and it was a new chapter to them and treated it as their re-debut. So I'm so excited for this new era." Some fans once again took the group's sudden rebrand as a quiet signal that Soojin might be returning. But those hopes were quickly shattered. Instead of a reunion, what followed was the release of a special album, one that featured re-recorded versions of their old title tracks, this time without Soojin's voice. The original versions remained available, but these new recordings replaced her lines with vocals from the remaining members, reflecting how they've performed the songs on stage since her departure. That move set off a firestorm online. In Korea, the response was mostly positive. Some even admired how the group had taken the step to re-record without a former member, saying they wished their own favorite groups would do the same after lineup changes. International fans, though, had a very different reaction. Many were upset, accusing the group, especially Soyeon, of erasing Soojin's place in their legacy. To them, it felt like a slap in the face after all the subtle signs that had made people think she might return. Fans felt misled, especially since the group renewed their contracts, teased something mysterious, and then clearly signaled they were leaving the past behind. A Reddit post about this read, "Them acting like they were determined to leave Cube, make them pay for what they did, name drop her at Mama just for nothing that seems weird to me, then why didn't they just stay silent?" Some even went as far as accusing Soyeon of intentionally disrespecting disrespecting Soojin, claiming that using a coffin in the teaser was a direct jab, symbolizing Soojin as if she were gone for good, despite the fact that she's very much alive. Another person wrote, "Why would you make a whole case file about Soojin and imply her being in a grave if you're not going to do anything positive? Now it just looks shady." Some fans accuse Soyeon and the other members of harboring jealousy towards Soojin, even suggesting that they purposely excluded her from the re-recorded songs because they felt she was the stronger vocalist. Many netizens began to imagine how Soojin must feel in all of this. She had trained with the group for years, spent 3 years promoting alongside them, only to be kicked out and then watch as the members seemingly referenced her in subtle ways. Then they rebranded and released an album of their old hits, but with Soojin's presence erased entirely. For a lot of people, this felt like an unforgivable move, and they took to online platforms to express their frustration, particularly targeting Soyeon. As the group's leader and the creative force behind many of their concepts and music, they felt she should have been more considerate of Soojin's legacy. After that, fans began to interpret every teaser as a subtle dig at Soojin. In the new trailers, each member found themselves in an unusual scenario where the letter G either fell off or was intentionally removed. The scenes showcased the members' resilience, whether breaking down doors or walking in broken heels. The Identity trailer, which featured all 5 members, seemed to mark a symbolic separation from the G, indicating a fresh start for the group. Fans, however, read into this, believing that the G was Soojin and its removal symbolized Soojin's departure. Some even theorized that Soyeon had played a part in Soojin's exit and was now using the rebrand to send a message that Soojin was no longer part of the group. But was this rebrand and the teasers really meant to target Soojin, or was it just K-pop fans reading too much into it and trying to find reasons to blame the members, and especially Soyeon, for something that was out of their control? If you're familiar with I-DLE, then you'd know that a lot of what's being said about the rebrand and the special album is simply off base, and probably even a bit of projection. So let's break it down from the start. First of all, it's odd that people are making such a big deal about the re-recorded songs, especially since the original versions with Soojin are still available to listen to. Plus, since Soojin's departure, the group has consistently performed these tracks with all 5 members at festivals and concerts, so it makes sense that the digital versions now reflect how they perform them live. Sure, some fans may prefer the original recordings, but claiming that this album is meant to throw shade at Soojin doesn't hold up or make sense. In fact, some fans were actually happy to hear Shua get more lines in these new versions than she did before. There's also the business side to consider, because since the profit split changed, re-recording the songs likely made sense from that perspective. Ultimately, this whole situation isn't as dramatic as people are making it out to be. There's also the accusations that the letter G they got rid of represents Soojin, but that's not actually the case. A few years ago, Soyeon explained in an interview with The Star that she came up with the group name while working on her second digital single, I-DLE Song. She pitched the name to Cube, and after some internal discussions, they decided to go with it. However, in Korean, I-DLE means children, and in English, idle can imply laziness or avoiding work, which is why the group didn't want to be associated with that meaning. To avoid that, they added the G in parentheses, with Soyeon saying it was meant to represent the word girl since they're an all-female group. This addition was made without the members' knowledge just before their debut. But the G was always silent, allowing the group to present themselves as more than just another girl group. Soyeon said, "We came from a mindset that we do not want to conform to any kind of social boundary or prejudice." The members have also shared that they don't want to focus too much on being labeled a girl group. Instead, they aim to break free from the typical expectations tied to gender roles. So while the G was there, it's not meant to define them, it's just a part of their name, much like how they strive to be more than what people see on the surface. Because of this, the members have said multiple times that they want to get rid of the G in their name even when Soojin was a member, and both Minnie and Shuhwa said the same thing very recently, so why would the G represent anything else but what the members have said it represents for years? As a user best put it, the G once a label that boxed them in is now being discarded, symbolizing the beginning of liberation. They are now breaking free from all the prejudices. It's likely they wanted to drop the G earlier, as they used I-DLE in the packaging for their first album after Soojin's departure. However, they were probably restricted from making such a change until their contracts were renewed. Now that they've signed new contracts, it was the perfect moment for a rebrand. This ties into the ridiculous idea that the coffin in the trailer represents Soojin. If you look closely, there's a G written on the coffin, suggesting that it's not about Soojin, but rather the group symbolically letting go of the G. In fact, the rebrand can actually be seen as a tribute to the time Soojin was with them. Their old name will always represent the 6 members, and they're acknowledging that Soojin will always be part of that history. By moving forward with a new name, they're not erasing the past, but starting fresh. Because of that, the references they made to their former member along the years seem more like a homage to their past, not a sign that they want Soojin back. The reality is, it's been almost 4 years since Soojin left, and all 6 members have thrived thrived in their careers since then. So instead of blaming I-DLE for not entertaining the idea of Soojin returning, a notion that seems to have appeared out of nowhere, fans are encouraging others to focus on supporting Soojin's solo music if they want to hear her voice so bad again. It's time for everyone to respect both sides and let them move forward peacefully.